Okay, so lesson P3. It's review. Okay, now, it's review. However, if I recall, there's some equations you really have to work at in homework. Okay, but this is solving equations and inequalities. Technically, you know all the skills. Now, when they give you big, tough equations, do all the skills kind of fly out of our heads? Possibly. And that's what you're going to see in homework some, or some of the bigger, tougher equations. But let's look through these. Example 1. It asks me to prove that x equals negative 2 is a solution of the equation x cubed minus x plus 6 equals 0. How do I prove that?
With negative 2.
Okay. Does negative 2 make that equation true, right? So, negative 2 to the third minus negative 2 plus 6. And I kind of put a question mark, like, does it equal 0? Negative 2 to the third is going to be negative 8 minus negative 2 plus 2 plus 6.
Oh my goodness. It works.
Negative 8 plus 2 is negative 6. Negative 6 plus 6 is 0. We come up with the statement 0 equals 0, so that means 0 is a solution.
I wish they were all
Wait,
Exactly.
So there's a solution.
Huh?
Negative 2 is the solution.
Sorry, negative 2 is a solution. Valid point. Okay. Example 2. It says solve. Okay, you have it in front of you. I'm not going to read it out loud. What's step 1?
Distribute.
Distribute. So when I distribute, I'm going to have you get 4x minus 6,
Oh,
right?
yep.
You get 3x plus 3,
Yeah.
and it stays 5x plus 2. Okay, what can I do after I distribute?
Okay.
add like
Like terms. So on the left, let's clean it up. 4x goes with
3x.
3x. 4x plus 3x is 7x. Minus 6 plus 3 minus 3 equals 5x plus 2. Okay. Now what?
Subtract 5x minus 3. No.
subtract 5x over and then add 3 over.
Your goal is to separate your variables and your non-variables, yes?
Indeed.
Move the x's to one side, the plain numbers to the other side. You can technically do this either way, correct? But it would make sense to subtract 5x to the left, or from both sides, and then that puts our x's on the left, so then I'm going to add 3 to both sides to move it to the right. So then I have 7x minus 5x is 2x, 3's cancel, 5x's cancel, 2 plus 3 is 5. 2x equals 5. What do we do? Divide, yes. If it's 2 times x equals 5, we're going to officially divide by 2. And x is, I'm going to say 5 halves, but I can take 2.5 as well. Now, with that in mind, folks, do I want just an answer on that problem? No, I expect to see some appropriate steps, yes? Not that your steps have to look exactly like mine, but similar amount of steps here. Okay, maybe you didn't show the dividing by 2. I don't know, maybe you didn't actually write in the minus 5x and the plus 3, but other than that, the information should be there. Okay, example 3. Thoughts?
I simplified the 8 and the 2 first. The negative 2. No, like I don't know. I did the cross thing. No.
Why can't I do the cross thing? I'm assuming you're talking about this 8 and this 2?
Yeah.
And we can't do the cross thing because those are
Opposite.
opposite sides of the equation. If it's a fraction times a fraction,
Oh
and you
my
have a
gosh,
denominator and a
yeah.
numerator,
Why didn't I?
that's what you're trying to do, isn't it?
Yeah.
But
I
that's
don't
not
know
what we
how
can
I
do
did
here.
that.
Now, if I had to guess, you guys probably aren't crazy about fractions, right? No one's crazy about fractions. So my suggestion on this, especially when we have one big fraction, a non-fraction, but then another fraction, is that we get rid of the fraction. That's my suggestion. Now, in order to get rid of the fractions, we want to get rid of the denominators. If I were to get a least common denominator, what would be that common denominator?
Oh. 2. 8.
You guys are doing, I don't know what you guys are doing. Some of you are throwing a GCF, but least common denominator is the smallest number that everything can multiply into.
Oh,
And so,
16.
No.
no, go back.
16.
8.
I-
Because
I got-
8 times 1 is 8, yes?
Yeah.
And 4 times 2 is 8.
Yeah.
Everybody can multiply into 8. Okay? So here's what I'm going to say. Your least common denominator has to be at least equal to the largest denominator. Okay? That's what you need to remember here. So what my recommendation is going to be is that we take both sides of the equation and we multiply by 8. What I do on the left, we're going to do on the right. Now, on the left, this is super easy. On the left, you're doing 8, which 8 as a fraction is 8 over 1. What happens here?
It's just
This is where Katie gets to do what she wanted to do earlier.
You get to cancel
Cross
out
out.
8.
Yeah, you can cross cancel. An 8 on top multiplied by an 8 in the denominator can cancel. What are we left with?
5y minus 2.
Good?
Great.
Okay. On the right, we have two terms being added. So we need to take that 8 and we need to distribute it.
You have to times the 2 plus by 8 as well.
Yes, so we're going to do 8 times 2. That's just whole number multiplication. Don't be anything crazy, which is
16.
16 plus. Now, when you multiply y over 4 times 8, make 8 into a fraction. And what can I do with that 4 and that 8?
Simplify, and then the 2 will go to the y.
Okay, yeah. You're going to cross cancel, simplify. 4 divided by 4 is 1 and gone. 8 divided by that same 4 is 2. 2 times y is 2y. This stuff rings a bell, right?
Mhm.
Maybe it's not coming to you instantly to tell me what to do, but when I review it, it's getting there. Okay. And how do I solve?
You subtract 2y from 5y and you add 2 to 16.
I would agree with that. If we try and move the y's to the left, we're going to subtract 2y. When we try and move the 2 to the right, we're going to add 2. So then we end up with I personally am at 3y equals 18.
Little division.
Divide. And if we divide, we're going to be then at 6. Divide both sides by 3. Y equals 6. Okay? Trying to remember. I don't think it says this in homework today, but how could you check your answer?
Plug 6 back in.
Yeah. Plug it back into the original equation and make sure it makes everything true, correct? Okay. Again, I don't know that it'll say that, but that's something that can be done in your head, right? Okay, so far so good?
Great.
Okay, moving on. Example 4. It says solve. The difference about this problem is it's an inequality. Does that really change anything?
No.
For the most part, no. So what would you like to do first?
Distribute.
Let's distribute the 3. So then I have 3x minus 3 plus 2 less than or equal to 5x plus 6. On the left, we can
Add the 2 to the negative 3.
clean it up, like terms. Minus 3 plus 2 is minus 1. So now I'm at 3x minus 1 less than or equal to 5x plus 6. What step would you like to take next?
Subtract the 3x by the 5x and subtract the 6 to the negative 1.
Are you guys okay with that? And we can do this 2 different ways, right? Katie suggested subtracting the 3x, and what's her plan then? She's keeping the x term positive. Okay, and that's perfectly fine. The other option, if you don't want to subtract the 3x, you could subtract the 5x, yes? Which way do I want to do this? I kind of want to go against Katie just to remind you of something in here. Katie, keep going your way. You're fine. Okay? If I go against Katie's wishes, it's fine, I promise. Not doing it because I disagree with what you're doing. Honestly, if I was doing that, I would do that too. But if I go the other way and subtract 5x, then I'm going to be adding 1. For me, then, 3x minus 5x is negative 2x less than or equal to 6 plus 1 is 7. I don't care if you guys go Katie's way or my way. I'm happy with both. But there's something I want to point out, which is why I went this way. What's my next step?
Flip this.
Because we're going to,
Divide by negative.
I'm going to divide by negative 2. Now, Katie's dividing by positive 2, yes? Okay. So what's going to happen for me is I'm going to divide both sides, by negative 2. When I divide negative 2x by negative 2, it's x. When I divide 7 by negative 2, negative 7 halves. Because I divided both sides by negative, what does that tell me I have to do? Reverse the inequality sign. So my less than or equal to becomes greater than or equal to. Now, the way Katie's problem looks right now, she got what? Negative 7 halves is less than or equal to x, yes? Is that correct? Yeah. Now, what I'm going to suggest to Katie is that she reverse it and put the x on the left so she can properly understand her graph. Okay? So if you're one of those people, you say, I prefer positive x. That's great. I like that. It just didn't give me the opportunity to teach dividing by a negative. So the inequality rule you need to remember here is when you multiply or divide both sides by a negative, you need to reverse the inequality signs. Okay? Now, down at the bottom, you'll notice it says write all inequality answers in interval notation. That's what you're going to see on the answer key. Now, does it say that? I can't be for sure that it says that in the directions in homework. That's my direction. Okay? So, might make it yourself a note when you start homework that I'm going to be looking for inequality answers, interval solution. Interval notation answers. Okay? Now, so, why yes, this is a good answer, I want to put it in interval notation. And I think you do have a few you have to graph as well, which we're going to graph this one you guys remember how to do interval notation?
Isn't it what we just did?
Nope, this is an inequality.
But like the, no.
Okay, now, as I said, the directions might say inequality. I'm telling you to do interval notation. And it doesn't say to graph it, but I'm going to use this as just kind of a helper thing. What's the graph of x greater than or equal to negative 7/2 look like? It's negative 7/2 and the shading goes where?
Right.
To the right. What do I put at negative 7/2?
A bracket.
Okay. Old school, we would have said a closed circle. But this is going to be a bracket, yes? Because that's equivalent to that. Okay, interval notation is kind of using this. Where does my graph start at? Starts at negative 7/2. Parenthesis or bracket on negative 7/2?
Bracket.
Bracket because it's included. Comma. Where does my graph end? It's going infinitely right, so it's positive infinity. Infinities always use parentheses. So there's what I would be looking for as your answer.
On all of them?
Yes. Whether the directions say it or not, whether the back of the book says it or not, like when you're checking those odds, I'm looking for interval notation on everything. Well, any inequality answers. Obviously not just an equation. Okay? Any other questions there? Okay. Let's look at example 5. Solve the inequality and graph its solution. Write in interval notation. Well, we can do this one two ways. We can work with the fractions if you want. Be easier to do than the last one. However, I always encourage getting rid of the fractions in this situation. How do we get rid of the fractions?
Multiply.
Multiply by what?
12.
Why 12?
So they can all divide into 12.
Okay. 12 would be the least common denominator. It's the smallest number that all of those denominators, 2, 3, and 4, can go into. So I'm going to multiply both sides of my equation by 12. 12 as a fraction is just 12 over 1, if you need that visual, yes? Okay, so 12 times x over 3. What do you know about 12 times x over 3? Yeah, the 3 and 12 cancel, right? 3 divided by 3 is 1. Then 12 divided by 3 is 4. And so this is 4x. Plus, what about 12 times 1/2? What is half of 12? 6. Keeping my sign the same, so I'm not multiplying or dividing by a negative. X over 4 times 12. Okay, 4 divided by 4 to be 1. 12 divided by 4 is 3, so it's 3 times x. Plus 1/3 times 12. Three divided by 3 is 1. 12 divided by 3 is 4. Now the nice part is we have a nice neat inequality, don't we? In order to solve, I'm going to subtract 3x and subtract 6. Again, that's in my effort to get variables on one side, numbers on the other side. I am currently then at 4x minus 3x is 1x, or x. 6 minus 6 cancels. Carry down the greater than sign. 3x minus 3x cancels. 4 minus 6 is -2. Okay. I boxed my answer out of habit, but is that the answer I want?
No.
No. That's an inequality. When it has less than greater than, it's inequality. This is asking for interval notation, and it's asking for a graph. This one's officially asked for a graph. So, x greater than -2. What do we do? I want -2 on the graph, along with some of its friends. X greater than -2. What do I put at -2? A parenthesis, because a parenthesis is equivalent to doing an empty circle or a hole, right? Which way do I shade?
To the right.
To the right, because it is greater than. Okay. can you do interval notation?
Yes.
Where does your graph start? -2. Parenthesis or bracket?
Parentheses.
Parenthesis, it was not equal to. Where does my graph end?
Infinity.
Goes infinitely right, positive infinity. Infinities
Parentheses.
have parentheses. Okay?
What much?
Okay. Example 6. Solve the inequality, graph its solution, write an interval notation. What's a little different about this one?
Three.
It's got 3, doesn't it? Okay, it's a compound inequality. Only difference is, well, where are we trying to get x by itself at? In the middle. So you're trying to get x by itself. What do you want to do first to get x by itself in the middle?
Multiple.
Yeah. If it's 2x plus 5 divided by 3, the last thing being done is divide by 3, so we need to multiply by 3. What are we going to multiply by 3?
3.
Everything, right? All 3 sides, yes? So I'm going to be multiplying this -3 by 3. I'm going to be multiplying my fraction in the middle by 3. And I'm going to be multiplying 5 by 3. Okay, so keep 3 pieces. 3 times -3 is -9, less than, what's that 3 do in the middle?
Just cancel out the bottom.
Just cancels out the bottom, leaving me with 2x plus 5, less than or equal to 15. And now,
Subtract the 5 from all sides.
to get rid of the 5 in the middle, subtract 5, all 3 sides. -14, less than 2x, less than or equal to 10. And then,
Divide by 2.
divide everybody by 2. Barring I haven't made any crazy math mistakes I didn't catch. -7 less than x less than or equal to 5. Sorry, Katie's giving me a crazy look. Stetson's giving me a crazy look, and I'm like, oh no.
I don't know why I thought -9 minus 5 was 4, but I did.
Okay. 9 minus 5 is 4, but -9 minus 5 is not 4.
Yeah.
Okay. The graph. My graph at least has to have -7 and 5 on it. Okay? I don't know. Put some friends on there, however you want to do it. That's fine. What's this graph look like?
1 parenthesis at -7 and a bracket at 5.
And the shading is
To the right? Or in between?
to the right of -7, to the left of 5, or in between the two values, yes? And here's the thing. Check with your compound inequality. If I just look at x less than or equal to 5, am I doing x less than or equal to 5? I am. This is -7 less than x, but I always try and reverse that when I'm graphing and think x greater than -7. Is this x greater than -7? It is. So there's my graph. Compound or interval notation is going to be, where's my shading start? With a parenthesis. Where's it in?
5 with the bracket.
5 with the bracket. Whoops. Okay. I think I'm going to write the homework over to the side because I can guarantee I'm going to get myself into trouble trying to write that low on the board. So if you haven't already written the homework down, it's page 25. And these are both sets of evens, 12 through 28. And 36 to 54. Both are evens. Okay. Now, what's the other big thing I need to point out? It says it at the bottom.
All inequalities have to be.
Okay. You're going to have inequality answers on your paper because you naturally get those when you solve. But what do you need to take time to practice converting to? Interval notation. Okay? Now, I will say, I'm introducing it. I'm reviewing with you. There's some ones that take work. Okay? So be prepared to work. There's fractions you're going to have to work with. Yeah. Come back ready to go on Monday. And I'm sure we'll have questions on a few of these.
So you know it's hard.
Well, I just know